Jeevan sir, are you there?
Yeah, hi, good morning. I'm there. This is Jeevan here.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am, Mr.
Good morning, Mr. Jeevan Saini. How are you?
Good morning, Ms.
This is Professor Madhu Parhar.
Yeah, Prahar. Hi. I'm fine, thank you. And how are you?
Good. How are you?
You are able to hear me loud and clear?
Yeah, sure.
Perfect. What happens is I am in Noida. I'm sitting at my home. So sometimes there is a power outage. So if there is an outage, I'll shift over to a hotspot. So there could be a gap of about a couple of minutes. Bear with me, please.
That's okay. So Saurabh, should we start? It's almost 11 now.
Yes, ma'am, we will start now.
Okay, thank you so much. So Dr. Suresh is back. He just went for a few minutes. He said he will be joining back.
Possibly, Jyoti ma'am will be there. Jyoti
Yes,
ma'am,
sir.
are you there?
Yes, sir. Sir, we will start. We will wait for another 2 minutes. Then we will start because another meeting was there for Director Sir, Suresh Sir. We will wait for another 2 minutes, sir.
I
Please, sir.
joined.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Shall we start, ma'am?
Sure, we can.
Hello. Hello all. Good morning. A warm welcome to one and all for this one-day webinar on entrepreneurship and innovation as a career opportunity in blockchain and IoT, organized by Department of Computer Science and Engineering, CIT Gubi, in association with Institution Innovation Council and Commonwealth Education Media Center for Asia. So on behalf of CIT family and participant, I take this great opportunity to welcome Professor Madhu Parhar, working in the capacity of Director, Commonwealth Education Media Center for Asia. Madam holds a PhD degree in education from Jamia Islamia University, New Delhi, MPhil in education from Delhi University, MSc from MS University of Baroda, and B.Ed from Delhi University. Madam has also held a number of roles in IGNOU and other institutions, including Wasan Open University, Malaysia. Madam specializes in education technology, open and distance education, instructional design, and has contributed several articles and research papers towards it. Madam was consulted by UNESCO on various distance education projects. Ma'am, on behalf of CIT family and all the participants, I welcome you to this webinar, ma'am. So next, I take the pleasure. Thank you. Next, I take the pleasure of inviting and welcoming Mr. Jeevan Saini, today's distinguished speaker. So Mr. Jeevan Saini is a co-founder and CEO of Safed Innovation Labs Private Limited. So Sir is a global leader backed by 30+ years of exceptional experience in building technology strategy, setting up technology units, delivering TCO reduction, building high performance teams, delivering innovative business solutions and large transformational programs for global IT organizations and banks across India, Middle East, Europe, and North America. Sir's core competencies include IT strategy and consulting, design and develop technical architecture aligned to business architecture, technology organizational restructuring, setting and scaling up technology organization, TCO reduction, delivery of large transformation and distinguished programs, and digital solutions using cutting-edge technologies, mentoring and coaching, building and mentoring high-performance teams, building governance and global delivery models, and many more. Some of the key achievements of SIRS are co-founded a blockchain environment development startup, have delivered a couple of papers on blockchain use case for payments and how the technology can be used for inclusion to Government of India, that is now a part of larger paper for discussion in G20 summit. Have successfully created an online course in blockchain and for managers and developers, have set up an offshore delivery unit from scratch, growing up to 400+ professionals, while while transitioning the entire development and maintenance activities of global transaction service GST technology from Netherlands to India. Lead the development adoption of agile and DevOps methodologies for a technology business division in RBS, delivered end-to-end testing unit for payments, implemented new payment engine for RBS, and executed SEPA modifications into all payments and aligned applications. Sir have successfully delivered collection vendor management hub to Standard Chartered Bank with TCO reduction of 75% year on year. Sir have more than 20 years of consistent track record of delivering large transformational programs like account initiation and opening, check truncations, CRM, RAC platform, and core banking transformations and implementation. Sir, with this exhaust knowledge and experience, we are very glad to have you on this today for this webinar for our students and faculties. We are really honored to have you today, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
So next, I'm honored to welcome Mr. Saurabh Mishra, who is a program officer, CEMCA. Sir has served as a nodal manager for Pradhan Mantri Yuva Yojana project and also worked on various projects of National Institute for Entrepreneurship and Small Business Development, engaged in training, consultancy and research to promote entrepreneurship and skill development in West Bengal under Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Government of India. So, Mr. Saurabh Mishra sir has also worked with ICA Education Skills, a pioneering institute in training in accounts and finance, Subex Limited and Kane software service firms. Sir has more than 12 years of experience in information technology, skill development, entrepreneurship and educational sector. And sir holds a bachelor's in engineering degree from VTU, Belgaum, Karnataka, and MBA from Global Open University, Nagaland. Sir, on behalf of all the participants in CIT, I also welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
So now, yes. So now today we have, yes, sir. So now I wholeheartedly welcome Dr. Suresh Dias, Director and Principal, CIT Gubbi, who leads as a backbone to all the activities of our institution and always instrumental in developmental activities. So on behalf of all the participants, I welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I also welcome Dr. Shantala Sipi, Vice Principal and Head Department of CSE to this webinar. Madam is always a source of inspiration and guiding support to all the activities in our college and department. So because of some unavoidable circumstances, Madam could not be a part of this event, but she has sent her best wishes for this event. So next, I welcome Professor Anil Kumarji, Coordinator, Department of Computer Science and Engineering to this event. I welcome all the department HODs, coordinators, and all the staff members to this event. So finally, I welcome all the participants to this webinar. Hope this webinar will be fruitful and it lays a foundation step to your career. So now I request Madam Parha Madam, Madhu Parhar Madam to address our students. Madam.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Director of the Institute, CIT, Tumkur, Dr. Suresh, the most learned resource person or expert of today's 2 hours webinar, if we say so, Mr. Jeevan Saini. Long list has been given, a lot of experience on the technology. All the faculty members and deans of CIT, the dear students who are the future of our country, my colleagues from SEMCA, and of course, Saurabh, who is organizing this, and he just joined on the 1st of November to SEMCA. So now, friends, I just want to share what we do because we want to listen to Mr. Jeevan Saini, and that's more important. Commonwealth SEMCA is a international organization serving the 8 Commonwealth countries in Asia. Our head office is in Vancouver, Canada, which is as known as the Commonwealth of Learning, which serves for 52 countries, Commonwealth countries in the world. So we give the continent covers Africa, Pacific, Europe, and so on and so forth, whatever the Commonwealth countries are. What we are working in 2 sectors mainly in SEMCA, education as well as skills. Education, we are catering to the open universities. And I think what Mr. Jeevan is going to talk about, the blockchain and Internet of Things, is going to be very applicable to these open universities. For us, for me, if I say so, the technology, especially these 2 main themes, are will be new enough to understand. And I think after listening to his biodata, if I say so, or expertise, I say so, we will see how we build into this blockchain and Internet of Things into the open universities. Because open universities are having students like, let's say, 30 lakhs. IGNOU has students or student enrollment of 30 lakhs. Any other university, if we say so, YCMOU in Maharashtra has a student enrollment of 5 lakhs. So that is the large number. There we need such technologies. Of course, for institutes like CIT, already they are technological institutions. They must be working a lot. But the students need to know, understand, and prepare themselves for the future. And these blockchain and Internet of Things are the disruptive technologies which has changed everything in our lives. And especially after, if we say so, COVID. Blockchain is, I don't want to get into it because Mr. Jeevan Saini will be explaining us. Blockchain can help the open universities or even the formal systems, formal universities or engineering institutions to improve the records and improve the efficiency of the whole system. Internet of Things, what it can do is, I was just reading it, that they can make very interesting, innovative, smart lesson plans, besides the other things what the Internet of Things can do it. So we must listen to what Mr. Jeevan will tell us. With these words, once again, I welcome Dr. Suresh on behalf of SEMCA and all my colleagues, and of course, Mr. Jeevan and the loving students. With this, I think we start, or Dr. Suresh, yeah, let Dr. listen to Dr. Suresh first, and then we can start with Mr. G. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for your wonderful keynote. First of all, I would like to congratulate my team members for organizing this event. I think it's the hour of need. We talk about the new education policy and the implications of the national education policy in 2020 and other things. So today's topic is quite interesting. It's on the entrepreneurship and innovation in IoT and blockchain. As a career opportunity. I think this is a very, very interesting topic because we address about entrepreneurship, innovation as a career opportunity with the latest technologies, with the blockchain and IoT. I think what I can say is, I think both for the industry, both and academia, I think we are in such a era where we have to redesign the business organizations, the business process using the disruptive innovations. Maybe the disruptive innovations may be based on your blockchain, IoT, AI, ML, or maybe any integrated architecture. Earlier, like when we used to study, we have like a single architecture and other things. I think now the technology is hybrid, the architectures are hybrid, and how we can improve using the integrated architecture for improving the agility in both industry for as well as the education revolution that is happening in our country. With this intention, I think maybe to talk about the technological changes and other things, I think our department have identified a good speakers. I think I was very impressed with the profile of our keynote speaker, Professor Madhu Parahar. In fact, Madam, I have visited IGNO quite a number of times. And hopefully, I think you know Dr. Anand K. Joshi, who was a former IGNO director, or he was worked in IGNO for some time. And myself and Dr. Joshi visited you long back, hopefully in Delhi, in IGNO office. Maybe just I was recalling, and I messaged the webinar brochure to Dr. Joshi, and he has said hi to you. Hopefully, he may call you. So, and with the kind of profile Madhu Parahar, and I was going through the publications, Madam, she has contributed in IGNO for the kind of publications. I think we are fortunate enough to get associated with people like you. And coming to the technological front, I think we have Mr. Jeevan Saini, who I think is the right man, I think with a diversified experience. And I think he can really bring the value addition for to talk about the technology. I think he's the right man. Along with supported by Mr. Saurabh Mishra, who is the program officer. So I think I think this webinar is really making a lot of interest. It is going to create a lot of interest among the academicians as well as the student friends. Because see, we have a person like Madhu Parahar who can bring about the changes in the education, educational technology, and the innovations. And other two eminent speakers, Mr. Jeevan Saini and Saurabh Mishra, can bring about the actual technology, disruptive technologies, innovations that is happening in industry. So I think with this note, I think I will leave the platform for the speakers to take over. And once again, I thank the organizing team of Department of Computer Science for giving me an opportunity to say words about this webinar. So thank you. On behalf of CIT family, I would like to thank Professor Madhu Parahar, Mr. Jeevan Saini, and Saurabh Mishra for accepting our invitation and to be a part of this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Suresh.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable words. Now, I request Jeevan Saini, sir, to take over the platform.
Thank you. A big thanks to the organizing team, Professor Prahar and Dr. Suresh. This is indeed a great opportunity for me to share my experience, share my learnings, and how my own journey or transformation from a 9-to-5 job about 3 years back into entrepreneurship, and that too with the emerging technology. So fantastic platform. Once again, a big thanks. And Dr. Suresh, while introducing, I think you really touched upon the right note as to this webinar or the webinars like this are key to trigger the interest of the audiences. Basically, they should start feeling that emerging technologies are not something out there. In fact, it is within their reach. It is just about triggering right kind of interest so that they start dealing with, start learning those technologies and start figuring out what is the art of possibility or what is all possible using these technologies. With that, within a couple of minutes, I'll move into the delivery of this particular webinar, but just a bit of a structure. I would request everybody to keep themselves on mute. I myself, due to bandwidth issues, will go off the video and then start sharing my presentation. As well as anybody who has a question can do one of the two things. They can either raise their hand on Zoom, and if the coordinator, the moderator sees that, can interrupt me, or they can put their question on the chat. And once this particular delivery is over, we'll have enough time at the end of this webinar to answer those questions. Fair enough? Anybody who's connecting fresh, of course, will have a couple of seconds. But again, one humble request, keep yourself on mute so that the delivery is absolutely audible to everybody. Fair enough? Well, so with that, let's just jump on. I'm going to be sharing my screen. Give me a couple of seconds. Let me stop my video and then I start. So how many of you remember Amitabh Bachchan advertisement of Lloyd's AC, where he's actually sitting somewhere on an airport and trying to manipulate his AC at his home? That, I guess, is a very good example of where IoT or Internet of Things can take us. In this webinar, I'll actually start with Internet of Things. We'll go on to blockchain. Then I'll try to marry these two technologies and share some examples with you. And then subsequently, I'll get into the entrepreneurship opportunities, what is all possible, and where people like you and me can use this particular technology. So I'm sure with that Amitabh example, you are able to figure out as to what is going to be happening in the near future. And this next decade actually belongs completely to these emerging technologies with IoT, blockchain, AI, and ML. I have shared my mail ID on the screen. I'm sure you are able to see the screen completely. In case you have any questions, you can either write to me directly on my mail and I'll be obliged to answer them. Well, Internet of Things. Let me just go back to a little bit of a history so that it kind of, starts registering in your mind that where we started, where the world started, and where we are today. It started becoming a buzzword around early 20s or thereabouts. Similar to what is happening with blockchain technology since 2017. By late 2013, if I remember correctly, there was a big conference in Barcelona, Spain, where everybody not only talked about, and these are the buzzwords, SaaS, software as service, or IaaS, infrastructure as services, or PaaS, platform as a service. But they started talking about, and this should stay with you, everything as a service, EaaS. And when you think about everything as a service, again, the example of that Amitabh Bachchan Lloyd's AC advertisement comes to mind, that there is nothing that cannot be managed using the various devices as well as connected through the common internet protocol. And what all is possible, I think we'll cover during this webinar. I'll repeat, when we talk about everything as a service, what we are trying to say is using the devices that are connected through internet protocol, every action, recording, or decision making is possible. And as I said, more about it as we go ahead in the lecture. With so much hype and noise, it is hard to separate fact from fiction. And that is the case with every emerging technology. And for that, to separate fact from fiction, you will have to dig really deep. The fuzziness that is caused today on these emerging technologies is because of the breadth of domains it covers. As we go along, you will figure out that all the technologies, Internet of Things, AI, ML, blockchain, and we'll concentrate on Internet of Things and blockchain, they cover each and every aspect of life, our day-to-day life, They can cover each and every aspect of all the domains like banking, insurance, uh, government services, uh, healthcare, so on and so forth. Nothing is going to be left untouched. Now, I think I'll take a few seconds break here, and I'll request you to reflect upon one such technology that came among us about 15 to 20 years back and changed the way we live today. Yeah, I'm talking about internet. I remember, and I think when I left India for about 7 to 8 years of work experience abroad, that was year 1997, and just the telephone was still coming. We had emails, we had mobile technology that was just coming in, and we had not started hearing of internet as we hear it of today. 1997. So it's just about 20 odd years, 2 decades. And today, I'm sure everybody will think about internet and say, oh, I can't live without internet. If internet is not there, it is as if something very important has been taken away from me. And look at the kind of economy that has developed around internet, which is one of the first disruptive technologies of its kind. Could you imagine scale of Amazon? Could you imagine scale of Uber, Ola, or marketplaces without internet? Absolutely not. Look at the kind of services, kind of businesses that have developed around internet just in about 15 to 20 years. And same thing is going to happen in this decade. By 2030, we will not be able to recognize the way we live if we just reflect 10 years back. I think it is going to happen in our lifetime. In fact, in my lifetime, I'm 57-year-old, and in my lifetime, I'm going to see a huge change, which is going to be brought about by these emerging technologies, namely Internet of Things and blockchain. It will penetrate each and every aspect of our life. In fact, the Gartner, and I'm sure all of you know about Gartner, has predicted that by 2030, the amount of money that will be invested in these technologies will be close to $5 trillion. And almost 91%, if not more, of the internet, of the technology infrastructure will be blockchain based. So you can imagine where we are going with these emerging technologies and how they're going to become the thing in our life. Right? So I'll just summarize this. In very near future, IoT will touch almost every aspect of our day-to-day life. And when combined with other technologies like blockchain, AI, and ML, it becomes a very potent transformation tool. And why am I using the word transformation? Every business, every domain that is using legacy systems, and I'm going to call every system that is in use today, every application is a legacy application, will have to transform themselves into IoT and blockchain-based systems. And that is where the opportunity for you lies. Be it a job, be it an entrepreneurship, be it a business that you want to start, the opportunities are going to be humongous. I think with this preamble, let's just move on. So as I said, I'll start with the Internet of Things. So the basic is answering all the W's. What is IoT? The perspective. When, history and future of IoT. Why? What are the advantages of using it? Which? What are the enabling technologies? Where? Applications. Now you will realize that each of this what, when, why, which, where is actually a huge topic in itself. And I can actually spend a couple of hours, if not more, discussing these details. Right? Let's just go ahead. So we all know what internet is, right? We use it day in, day out. It's people, computers connected through internet protocols. What it does for us, It generate, display, or manipulate content and documents. It also allows you to, do your banking, little bit of banking. It allows you to, what do you call it, book your Uber, Ola, allows you to, get into Amazon and make a purchase and all, basically use a marketplace. But at the end of the day, you can divide them into two basic aspects, which is content and documentations. And based on the content and actions, some decision making. When we talk of Internet of Things, it goes a little bit further. In fact, a lot further. We are now talking of computers, sensors, and actuators connecting through internet protocols. Now, this is interesting. When you start bringing computers, sensors, and actuators, you're now talking of machine-to-machine communication without human intervention. And not just machine-to-machine communication, you are actually talking of machine-to-machine decision-making based on certain parameters. And that's a very powerful statement. I'm sure all of you have seen Terminator, various series of Terminator. It does look like a fiction at this point, but very soon, not in the class of Terminator, but very soon, machine-to-machine communication and decision-making will actually become the reality. And as I said, not just you guys, you're very young, even I am going to see that in my lifetime. It's actually already happening. And I'll give you one example of that it's already happening. So what it does, it generate, measure, or manipulate physical properties. Now, let me just stop here and let me just take you through an example because I will run that example throughout this webinar. Now, we all go to food stores, right? We all pick up stuff. Many of us are non-veg. So we pick up meat, poultry, eggs, so on and so forth. And many of us who are vegetarians go pick up milk, pick up cheese and all, or vegetables that have a shelf life. Now just imagine that you have no idea today when you're picking up a meat except of that label that is there on the meat packet, that when was it packed and what is the expiry. You have no idea where it was packed. You have absolutely no idea as to what was fed to this particular, whatever you are having, chicken or beef or whatever you are having, what was fed to them, so on and so forth. Similarly, if you're picking up a milk, you have absolutely no idea from which dairy it has come or which cow, what that cow or that buffalo has been fed, so on and so forth. Imagine a future where you have a QR code attached to that particular package. And the moment you scan that QR code on your mobile, you actually get the entire history. History of what? History of, let's take a case of chicken. Which poultry farm that chicken came from, what kind of medicines and what kind of diet or feed that chicken was given, when was it slaughtered, through what supply chain did it move from the poultry to the slaughterhouse to the shelf from where you are picking up, how many days back, what temperature and all, so on and so forth. Now, if that single QR code on the packet can give you all that information, let me make it clear for you. It's happening today, though on a testing phase, and that is what is being made possible by Internet of Things and blockchain combined. Keep that example because I'm going to be using, now this is a typical supply chain example into a cold chain. We call it cold chain. But similar supply chain example or similar examples of IoT and blockchain are applicable in healthcare industry where vaccines are being moved from one place to another, so on and so forth, or for the banking industry. So we'll come to that. I'll keep punctuating my webinar with these examples, right? In the example of poultry that I gave, you will need a lot of sensors, and those are your IoT devices. sensors of temperature, sensors for humidity. You will need blockchain in terms of securing data. You will need blockchain in terms of storing that particular data. And you will need a lot of, camera kind of devices that will actually capture the information and will feed into some central location or some blockchain application. So this is a very good judicious mix of IoT devices picking up the physical properties of the environment they are working in. Remember, you still have it on screen: generate, measure, and manipulate physical properties. So there are IoT devices, sensors that are picking up physical properties of the environment that they are working in, sending that data on online or online basis to an application, which is a blockchain-based application where the necessary decisions are being made. Let's just move on. This is the new dimension. And the new dimension is the bottom one, anything connection. So internet allowed us anytime connection, on the move, outdoors and indoors, night, daytime, whatever. It also allowed us any place, again on the move, again outdoors, indoors, at the PC. Anything connection is what is going to happen now with IoT. It is between PCs, human to human, human to thing, and thing to thing. Let me give you just another simple example, though it may or may not happen, but again, it's a possibility. Let's say there is a climber who is trying to attempt to climb Everest, and there are number of devices that have been placed which are able to withstand that temperature and all, which are basically giving you information about temperature of that place, stormy conditions, so on and so forth. And the data that they are picking up at the in and around Everest allows us to make a decision as to a storm is coming or not. And therefore, a climber who is attempting to climb Everest should climb at that moment or not, or should I make an attempt at that time or not. Imagine if suppose a device picks up that information, sends it to some central location, let's say in India, not even Europe or US, but in India, and then a decision is made, and that decision is transmitted back to the climber. There is huge amount of lag, and there is a huge amount of time that might be lost, and we may not be able to give the decision to or the right information to the climber at a right time. But what if those devices were smart enough to not only calculate the data, but make some small decisions and all? That is Internet of Things. A device placed at a key location is recording the data that it is meant to record, and not just record it, but also make some small decisions at its own end. And then transmit not the data, but the decision, which is much faster. And which technology is going to make that happen? Internet of Things. Right? Let's just move on. This is a bit of a history, as I said, how the growth in the Internet of Things is. And mind it, Internet of Things is nothing but the, spread of devices, the expansion of those devices. Right now, the devices that are heavily in use are your humidity recorders, your temperature recorders. They've started getting into agriculture space where you are actually measuring the soil content. How much of the phosphorus, how much nitrogen is there, again, how much moisture is there. So these kind of devices have started becoming more and more popular, and the data that they are capturing has started becoming more and more usable for decision making. So if you start from 1992 onwards, there were just about 1 million devices of various kinds. And by 2020, they are going to be moving into, we are going 50.1 billion devices. And so going to go up and up. And the graph you can see is exponential. So once it starts becoming, start moving into our day-to-day life, we will be requiring these devices in billions and trillions. And mind you, these are the devices which will have a shelf life. So you will have to have a replacement for these devices. And therein lies a humongous opportunity of starting manufacturing of such devices. And the type of devices that we will require in next few years is going to be humongous. You name it, any kind of thing that can be measured will require a device, an automatic device. And that will require a manufacturing hub. In fact, if you can recall, and you can do that on internet, just check it out. Taiwan and Singapore became the hub of these chips in late 80s and all, when the entire internet computing and all was becoming buzzword, when PCs and all were starting to become the in thing, it required huge number of chips and all, and both Taiwan and Singapore became the hub for manufacturing of those. And today you look at those economies, how advanced they are, how much foreign exchange, money, how much economy it is driving. And with a country like India, with so much of support from government today, the next decade belongs to the technologists who are ready to take risks, who are ready to take the plunge into getting and using these emerging technologies to further the economy. Let's move on. Will it affect your life? The word your is actually our life or a human life. Let's just take this example. So this is another classical example. We all put alarm clock. I am an early riser, yet I depend heavily on the alarm clock. Let's say my alarm clock is actually an intelligent device, and it can decide on its own that how much time I need to sleep and all. I can feed that data, and it is able to figure out whether I need 5 hours of sleep, 5.5 hours of sleep to feel fresh, so on and so forth. Not only that, it actually is able to sense whether I am having a good sleep or not. Now, I had planned a wake-up call based on my meeting that was planned by somebody else. Let's say Mr. Mishra, Saurabh Mishra is in the call, and he has planned this particular webinar at 11. For me to be, and I am delivering this particular webinar. For me to deliver this webinar, let's say I put an alarm clock, some kind of an alarm at 9:30 in the morning, which basically reminds me that there is a webinar coming up at 11. Now, for some reason, that webinar is pushed back by 45 minutes, means it is not going to start at 11:45. Do I still need to get that alarm at 9:30? Maybe not. But unless Mr. Mishra calls me up, or somehow I get to know that the meeting is 45 minutes late, I will not be able to change my alarm. But let's say my clock is intelligent enough and connected to my calendar. The moment Mr. Mishra has changed the meeting to 11:45, the calendar item has changed. Because the calendar item has changed, my clock has sensed that and realized that I now need to push the alarm by 45 minutes. But it is intelligent enough to figure out that those 45 minutes may not be the exact 45 minutes because there are many other things that I need to do. So actually, it may only shift the alarm by few minutes, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, because I have to take care of few other things. In this example, and I'm going to be sharing these slides with you, here is the guy who basically has a meeting pushed back by 45 minutes, but the alarm clock has decided that he can have 5 minutes extra sleep because you know the reasons. They are on the right-hand side. And is it possible? I'll say, yes, it is possible. But then somebody will have to start manufacturing those intelligent devices, which will make it possible. But it's going to happen. Let's move on. I'm having a cup of tea along while I'm delivering this, so bear with me. So if we go in this cycle, what I'm trying to show is how the entire Internet of Things, the decision making, the experience will pan out. It starts with device connection and connectivity. And what are those devices? These are IoT devices. And I'm calling it IoT connectivity because though it uses the same internet protocol that is being used today, but this connectivity is going to be a bit different. And why it is going to be different? Because this connectivity will be enabling data transmission based on which some decisions are going to be made. So you need to make sure that the data transmission is secured, cannot be tampered with. And therein comes blockchain or a similar technology, which allows you to secure the data during creation and transmission, because that data is of no use if it gets manipulated during the transmission. Then the decisions that are going to be derived out of such data are going to be wrong. So therefore, IoT connectivity is going to be slightly different, more secured and all than today's internet communication that we have, though it is going to use the same internet protocols. And of course, embedded intelligence. The second is data sensing and collecting. So I'm going into clockwise, starting from 1, which is nothing but capture data, sensors, tag, and storage. Third, data transport and access. Focus on access networks, cloud, edge, data transportation. There's something called edge computing that I give you an Everest example. There, that is the edge computing. You capture the data on the edges, and you actually have certain intelligence computing built in there so that the decision is also made there, if possible. Then analytics, data analytics. That is where your big data analysis, AI, and cognitive analysis at the edge will come. So we are talking of AI ML. Then comes the value analysis to action, APIs, processes, actionable intelligence, and then smart applications, stakeholder benefits, tangible benefits, so on and so forth. So that completes the cycle. And that is what exactly I have written in the center, Internet of Things, from connection to the benefit to us as humans. Moving on. These are kind of 10 most popular Internet of Things applications, a ranking based on web analytics. Smart homes. Now, I'm sure I gave you an example. I started this entire webinar with that example of light advertisement by Amitabh. We all already have it. We have, sensor, light sensors, motion sensors. We have temperature sensors at home. We are talking of smart refrigerators, which will be able to sense the particular, let's say the milk is less in at home, or the cheese that I'm so fond of is less, or the eggs are less, and it will be able to order to the preferred store from where I pick up things online using internet protocol, 6 eggs or 12 eggs or whatever, or certain amount, few liters of milk, so on and so forth. So do I really need to open my fridge, look at how much milk I have or eggs I have, and then pick up a phone and order to my store? Well, today I do that. Tomorrow my refrigerator should be able to make that decision. And are we making such a decision today? I'm going to just take 5 minutes and let it sink in. In certain devices or certain equipments, we have started making those decisions, where the decision and the action is automatic. Well, our cars are becoming extremely smart. They sense the temperature and they can start the AC and set the AC at a certain level automatically. They sense the humidity or the rain and the wipers start immediately. They sense that your brake oil or your wiper fluid or various other aspects of your car are not right, and therefore the warning lights come up telling you that you need to take care of that. There are photodiodes in your headlights which sense that it's getting dark and your headlights come on automatically. Think about it. I have just given you one very simple example of what all these devices can do, and the data from these devices and the decision that you make or the systems will make is Internet of Things. So smart home, wearables, you have those Fitbit watches, right? In fact, Apple Watch has started saving life of people where it is able to sense your pulse rate and is able to make a decision that you might be getting a heart attack. And if you are getting a heart attack, it will be able to call your doctor and intimate them that you are at, and will advertise your location also automatically, that at this location your pulse rate and your other parameters are such, and it seems that you might be getting a heart attack, and a necessary decision by the doctor can be made. And that is Internet of Things. Smart city, smart grid, power grid. Many of us, and this is going to happen in next 5 years, we are doing a project with the government of India today, where buildings, factories, individual homes are installing solar panels on their rooftop. Now, if the electricity is generated from those solar panels, today you have to push it into a national grid. That's the law. And from there it gets distributed. What if tomorrow, and that's why I've used the word smart grid, what if tomorrow I generate enough electricity for my own home and maybe a little bit more? Why should I pump all the electricity back into the grid and then take it from the grid? I should be able to use whatever I'm generating for myself, and the rest of it I should be able to put into the grid for which I should be paid back. And that is what smart grid is. We are already working with the Government of India organization that takes care of such initiatives. It's called TERI, where we are building smart meters, smart grids, and a blockchain-based application that can actually do whatever I have just explained. Industrial Internet, this is basically machine-to-machine communication where it is not browsing, but it's a decision making based on certain parameters. I did use the word actuators in my previous slides. So imagine a valve closing or opening based on certain conditions that are being transmitted to that condition, or the data is being transmitted to that valve via Internet protocol. Connected car, we have already discussed. Connected health. In hospitals, it's already happening that you're connected with the devices, and if something goes wrong, those devices are able to alert doctors and the staff. But I'm talking about, I gave you an example of Fitbit. I'm talking of people sitting at home. Right now, I'm delivering a lecture. Let's say I'm 57-year-old and I could have a medical condition that may render me immobile for whatever reason. And I'm in a closed room. Unless I shout or do something, people will not know. But what if I am wearing a device which is connected to my doctor and my family, and it is basically continuously reading the data and transmitting it, or storing it at least somewhere? Smart retail. I gave you an example of poultry and all. I'm sure you must have read, many of you, that Amazon has started smart carts, right? You go to the Amazon food store, you pick up a packet. It's not in India as yet, but in no time it will be in India. You pick up the packet and you put it in the cart. It automatically senses what you have picked up, adds the value and all. And while you're moving out of the store, it basically debits the amount to whatever card, whatever system you have already set up for your debit. It may debit to your account directly, maybe debit to your credit card, debit card, whatever. It's already happening. And it's nothing but Internet of Things, those devices combined with blockchain that is making it possible. And some smart supply chain, I've already taken example of poultry. And that's an example of smart supply chain. This is interesting. Industry 1.0 happened in 1784, Industry 2.0, 1870, 3.0, 1969, and many of you would be hearing this Industry 4.0 revolution, and that's happening today as we speak. And that is nothing but emerging technologies that are making it possible. Right? Mr. Mishra, please do let me know how am I doing with the time.
Sure, it's, 1 hour is still there with us.
Okay, fine. I'll try to speed up. This is a typical solution workflow of Internet of Things devices, where if you see that on top, there is devices, gateways, and ingestion. Ingestion is for data. They're all one-way arrows. If you see the top line, then you have two-way arrows where the ingestion from data ingestion to automate to the decision making and then report and act. Big data analysis, decision making, report and act. And if you see the event, the intelligent cloud and the big data is in the cloud, whereas rest of the pieces are outside the cloud. So the devices collect the data through an internet gateway. They pump it based on an event or a trigger. There is a analysis, there is a decision that is made by the intelligent cloud or the systems, that is your automation. Once that is done, the raw data as well as the decision is stored in a secured database that will be blockchain based and all, where your big data is used. Big data technologies are used to make right kind of analytics and analysis. And then what comes out of that is basically report and actions. And that is how your typical IoT solution workflow will look like. These are all major components. Each of them is a course in itself. This is what is the enabling technology. Why blockchain is in the center? Let me just explain that for 2 minutes. Every piece of data, every piece of decision, every piece of action that is being made has to be secured, has to be stored in a secured manner. In fact, I'll take a step back, has to be transmitted in a secured manner and has to be stored in a secured manner. So where that transmission and storage security comes into picture, blockchain is the answer, which basically does not allow, there is a word we use, immutable, and I'll come to that. So immutability is what blockchain provides. Other technologies are on the side: wireless technology, cloud and big data, power smart, smartphones, processing power, and sensor technology. Now, all these technologies combined together will give you a Internet of Things blockchain experience, will allow you to build such applications. Cloud and big data is where AI ML is also hidden. Data analysis and a small device that can be carried all around easily. Now, this is where AI and ML is hidden. Let me just go further. Most of you must be used with the word IT cloud. So is IT cloud of today is going to be different from IoT cloud of tomorrow? Yes and no. Basically, IT cloud is still going to be there. So that's a superset. IoT cloud is going to be some specific aspects within that IT cloud, where, as I said, you are using the same internet protocol. But when it comes to IoT, that internet protocol, how it is used and what aspects are more important than others will change. And therefore, IoT cloud is going to look a little bit different from what IT cloud looked like. But you will still require database, you will still require applications, you will still require data transmission. But how it is stored, how the decisions are made, there's something called smart contracts and all blockchain based, how the smart contracts are designed, those will be the different aspects. So therefore, your programming will change. The way you develop an application will change. The way you transmit data, secure data, use decipher technology, all that will change. You will continue to use the internet protocol, but how are you using that will change in IoT cloud. And this is kind of, I think I'll let it sink in for about 30 seconds. These are the kind of vulnerabilities that you have today, which the entire industry, the entire world is working on in terms of what kind of things may happen or may go wrong if we do not secure the applications, the technology properly, if we do not use the technology properly. You know, social media, the power of social media, how important it is, how useful it is. But then you also know the negative side of social media, how bad it can be. So that is what I'm trying to explain. Internet, IoT, blockchain, AI/ML, all are emerging technologies, very powerful and will have humongous amount of usage in the near future. But all of these technologies, if not used properly, not designed properly, will have loopholes, will have problems. I think with that, let's just move on. Closer to the source. What this basically I'm trying to say is the decision making is going to move closer and closer to the source of the data generation. So our devices, as we go along, are going to become more and more powerful so that as soon as they capture the data, they are able to make a decision. So the decision making will move closer to the source. With that, we go into the blockchain. I'll just take 2 minutes. If anybody has any question at this point on the Internet of Things, otherwise I'll move on. I'll move on then, and I'll open the whole thing later on once I'm done with this webinar.
Yeah, I can request the colleagues and the students if they can write down their questions on the chat also, so that Mr. Jeevan can take it later.
Perfect. Thank you, Professor Prahar. Thank you. So a blockchain is a list of transactions. So just concentrate on the highlighted words. A blockchain is a list of transactions shared between multiple parties where a new transactions are added at the end, never deleted and never changed. So list, shared, added, never deleted, never changed. Now, I'm sure many of you who are computer science students must have heard of list processing, LISP, or a relational database. At the core of blockchain, it is nothing but it's a digital ledger. It's called DLT, digital ledger, distributed ledger technology. I'm sorry, distributed ledger technology. And that is the core for a blockchain. So at the end of the day, it is a specific kind of a database that the way it is developed, the way it is built defines what blockchain is all about. And every other aspect of blockchain works around on top of this DLT, distributed ledger technology. And what is a ledger? Ledger, as you must have read, understood, is nothing but list of transactions. Typically, when you heard of accounting, when you heard of banking, you hear the word ledger. In fact, right now I'm delivering this webinar is a transaction. Why a transaction has to be always linked with the money? Any exchange is a transaction, and therefore, if you go with that kind of a mindset that every exchange is a transaction and it needs to be recorded somewhere, you get a distributed ledger, which is blockchain, where every exchange is being recorded. And how it is recorded? It is added at the end of a block. It is never inserted in between. It is always appended. Why it is appended? Because by design, you cannot delete the previous record and you cannot manipulate it. That means you cannot change it. So the typical aspects of deletion and updation on a database are kind of missing. I won't say totally missing, but then we are going to go into the depth of it. But they're kind of missing in a digital ledger technology or a blockchain database. As I said, on top of it, every other aspect of blockchain is built. So if you cannot delete and you cannot change, and if there is a genuine need, what you do, you actually add a new record with the corrected data, but the old record is still going to be there. And therefore, you will have the entire history of how a transaction has happened and what has happened to the transaction. And that is a very powerful aspect. Not possible today in no database. And that is what blockchain brings it. Now you combine blockchain with the data that is being generated with by the devices, which we have just discussed, Internet of Things. Those devices are generating data on which certain very major decisions have to be made. That data is transmitted in a secure manner and stored in a blockchain database. And therefore, that becomes the potent transformation combined tool in your hands. Let's move on. Again, the same simple example. If you look at the center, let's just look at the center 4 boxes. Distributed shared ledger, I've already talked about. Smart contracts, these are nothing but your actual application code. Now, I can have a contract between me and Mr. Mishra. That contract could be anything. Like, based on this such and such condition, we will have this kind of an exchange between us. Tomorrow, I can actually build an application around that contract, embed it, and attach a device to that particular smart contract, which is basically going to act as a trigger. So if what I said, between me and Mr. Mishra, there is a contract that if such and such thing happens, then there is an exchange. That such and such thing is going to be sensed, and the data for that is going to be delivered, for that event is going to be delivered by a smart device. And where that data will go, it will go into a blockchain database. And what will happen with that data? A smart contract, which is nothing but a piece of code, will act upon that data, and knowing that that data has come from an authenticated source, it will actually make that exchange happen without the intervention of Mr. Mishra and me. Why it is called a smart contract? There is a way that this particular logic is written. It's a bit complex, but that's what blockchain is all about. Then network consensus. I just use the word authenticated data. That is what network consensus is. How do you make sure that the data has come from a right source and it is authenticated? Again, there are mathematical algorithms that has been around for 30 years, and these algorithms are embedded in your blockchain applications, which make sure that they are able to figure out whether the data has come from right source or not. And I have been talking about security during transmission, during storage, and during decision making. So these four are the pillars of any blockchain application. And you can start figuring out that if this kind of a blockchain application has to base its decision making, its action on a data, where does that data come from? From IoT devices. And that's where machine to machine communication and decision making is complete. And that's why IoT plus blockchain becomes a humongous potent transformation tool. And this whole decade, starting 2020 to 2030, belongs to these technologies. And you will require millions and millions of professionals to be able to understand and use this technology for building applications. And that's where you come into picture. Either in a high paid, high end jobs, decision making jobs, or as an entrepreneur, as a businessman, making those things happen. Both opportunities are abundant. I'll move on. Types of blockchain, I think I'm not going to spend time. It's just a trigger for you to go and figure out on your own what is the public blockchain, what is a private or a company blockchain, and what is a federated or a consortium blockchain. So I've given you names: public, private, consortium also known as federated, right? I'll just leave you with this. The biggest example of a public blockchain is Bitcoin. There are other examples. I'm sure you will be able to Google it out, but the biggest example of a public blockchain is Bitcoin. And I'm sure all of you have heard about Bitcoin. What does it bring? What does a blockchain application bring to the transactions? As you see on the right, I have written transaction, transaction, transaction. Nothing but a distributed ledger technology, a DLT, a database. It's verified origin. So by nature, a blockchain application is designed in a manner that the data that it works upon is always verified. You cannot have modified data moving into a DLT. And it is a bit complicated how it is done, but that is how you make sure that the data that you're working on or the application is working on is always verified. There's a consensus mechanism as to what data gets into the block, how do you make a block, so on and so forth. Provenance, as I said, you never delete or modify, so therefore there is a complete history, append only. Transparency, everybody who is connected on a blockchain, every entity, every user, every device that is connected on a blockchain actually has a view of the entire data. So there is a complete transparency. It's tamper-proof. We have discussed that. Its finality, history is never changed. We have discussed that. And smart contracts, I've given you nothing but a code written in a specific manner. Now, here is a classical good news for you all. Is there a specific language that you need to use for developing smart contracts? As I said, smart contracts are nothing but a code written in a specific manner, designed, architected in a specific manner. The same Java that you use today, the same .NET technology that you use today can actually be used to build a smart contract. So you don't have to learn any new language, but you have to learn a blockchain concept. And blockchain concept actually is database, coding, cybersecurity, consensus mechanism, algorithms all put together. So this is nothing but an amalgamation of 7 to 8 technologies that are already there, that have been used for last many, many years. but how they are combined in a specific manner to bring that blockchain is what do you call it, a course in itself. I'm taking this quick pharma supply example. And in fact, I will not even go into the details of it from a screen perspective. I'll just simply state about it. Let's say there is a vaccine, and you all know corona vaccine is going to be coming very soon. A vaccine requires a very tight control around its transportation, around its storage. Now, how do I make sure that the vaccine that has started from a factory has actually reached its destination in a controlled manner? The entire transportation or a supply chain will actually be monitored through IoT devices, the data of which will be fed into a blockchain application. And once it reaches its destination, the person who is in charge of taking control of that vaccination will be 110% sure of its entire mobility, supply, veracity, means it is right or it has gone bad, so on and so forth. Because that data will already be in the hand of that person who's going to make that decision before even the vaccine reaches that particular person. Now, if with this example, you can just extrapolate this example to anything. You can use it to oil and gas. You can take this example to food industry. You can take this example to entire, in banking terms, we call it trade finance and all, which is nothing but dealing with import and export across continents and countries. So the power of IoT and blockchain is not just limited to one domain, and I'm going to show you what all domains it is possible. It's actually possible into many, many aspects of government decision making as well. We'll come to that. So background of the industry, who should we trust? Emphasis on transparency, costly IT systems, highly inefficient supply chain processes, and increased desire for critical care in store and transit. So this is basically, I'm still with I'm trying to explain it using the pharma example. Intense competition in complex supply chains spanning countries has increased incidence of fake drugs worldwide. Fantastic. Now, how do you make sure that the drug that you are eating, consuming is actually not fake? There's a huge amount of fake drugs that are being manufactured, and India is not immune to that. You never know whether the NSN or whether the kerosene that you're pumping in is actually fake or not. So how do you make sure? IoT and blockchain, right? Today's IT systems are not capable of detecting that fake drug. And if they are highly costly. And look at the aspect, let's say, and it happens in car industry, and Maggie is a classical example. High content of lead in some Maggie packets actually took the Maggie off the shelf for 6 months. I'm sure you remember a couple of years back it happened. And look at the cost of that entire thing to Nestle. Picking up the entire Maggie, destroying it, looking at their entire manufacturing again. If that problem was picked up in the budding stages, the cost of that issue would not have been so much. And is it possible to pick up such problems at that initial stages? Yes, that is where your IoT and blockchain comes into picture. It is possible. And we have actually done a project with a car manufacturing company in Europe, where we are able to pick up the fake parts at its origin. So therefore, the cost of replacing that part, if it ever gets into a car and ends up in an accident, we have reduced that. And humongous cost into few $1 billion a year. So you can imagine how much cost you can save. And so on and so forth. I think I'll have. So again, I'm taking the case of fake drugs, drug recall, illegal production, expired drugs, transit loss. All these are the issues that you will have with the pharma industry today. But Think about it. Look at this slide. When I'm done with this webinar, you can apply this particular scenario to many of the supply chains and many of the products today out there. I've just given you one example of car spare parts. No different. It has fake parts. It has a recall. There is an illegal production of fake parts. Expired, yes, your oil and all can be expired. Extra oil that you put into your car and all, and transit loss can happen. It can happen in food, oil and gas, right? How blockchain and IoT can assist? I think we have been discussing that. Continuity of information, accessibility of information, link between physical and information flow, trust and reliability of information, augmented intelligence, applications, and analytics. I can just give you one example, and you should be able to appreciate that example because I've worked on that. You know the Shell Oil Company. It is a Dutch company, one of the biggest petroleum company like Indian Oil or like Bharat Petroleum in India in the world. I think in Karnataka and all, you do have Shell petrol pumps and all also, but it is not across the India. Now, when Shell buys a crude oil tanker from Saudi Arabia, the company is called Aramco, Saudi Aramco. And when Shell buys a crude oil tanker, it actually runs into a few billions of dollars. One tanker costs that much. Today, there is a delay in terms of Saudi Aramco fills up the tanker at its port. The tanker moves to Netherlands through the sea route. There it is emptied. It is measured. Now there is a standard loss of petroleum, oil and gas that happens during transition that is acceptable. Once the pump out of that crude happens into Shell, Shell is able to realize that I have received whatever I ordered. And therefore, they ask Saudi Aramco to generate an invoice, and that invoice is then honored by Shell. How much is that invoice for? One tanker cost few $1 billion. And it takes few days, if not weeks, for that invoice to materialize. So Saudi Aramco is basically giving a credit to Shell for a few days or weeks. What if, while the crude was being pumped out of the well and pumped into the tanker at Saudi, they are able to generate the data of how much crude has been pumped out, how much crude from the well, how much crude has been pumped into the tanker, and there the tanker is sealed and invoice is generated and automatically paid also. The movement of money, which is what economy is all about in the world, movement of money becomes much faster. And is it possible? Yes. You can have sensors at the well, you can have sensors at the crude oil tanker, and those sensors are actually able to sense every drop of the crude that you're pumping out and putting into the tanker. Can you secure that data? Of course, blockchain will help you to secure that data. And therefore, you can actually make an invoice decision and payment of that invoice decision right at the source. You don't have to wait for days and weeks. And what are we talking? Billions of dollars. And the money movement, as I said, is economy. The whole world starts moving forward. And it is going to happen. IBM is doing it for Abu Dhabi oil and gas industry. And it is going to become reality. It is just one example. I am going to now take you to this particular slide. Look at where all blockchain and IoT is going to be useful. I have put blockchain at the center. This was a complicated slide, so I didn't change it, but it is blockchain plus IoT. It is going to be in banking, financial, fintech, streaming payment processing with high efficiency, fast and secure transactions, and empower global transactions, tearing down national currency borders, minimize complexity of any financial ledger. You know, today, when you are transferring money from one country to another, you will start using it once you start traveling abroad. The average cost of the transfer is 7 point odd percent. Huge. For every 100 rupees you want to transfer, you actually pay a fee of 7 odd rupees. With the new technologies, that can be reduced to few paisas, few point percentage. So that's where the power lies. What are the other? Charity, cloud storage, commercial vehicle and transportation, credit history. These are some of the other applications of this technology. Let's move on. Cybersecurity. Fight hacking and immutability of ledger, guarantee validity and data integrity. No single point failure. So basically, no single point failure. Cybersecurity is another big area. Now, why am I stopping at, let's say I stopped at banking and stopped at cybersecurity? These are the areas where these technologies have already started making huge amount of inroads. Other areas where there are proof of concepts being developed, there are other aspects that are being worked out. But these domains or business areas, the technology is already being used heavily. Donations, education, humongous. I think Professor Prahar said that how this particular technologies will help in education. Now, National Education Policy, the new policy is actually asking university to start blockchain as a semester course. And I'm already working with certain universities to develop blockchain as a semester course for MCAs and for engineering students. Means minimum of 60 hours of theory and then equal amount, if not more, of project work, internships, so on and so forth. So we are working on that. I'm already working and I should be launching it. Our company should be launching it sometime in January. So that's where the education is. And we all know how much of fraud is there in 10th and 12th certificates. Remember blockchain? I said a data goes in, can never be manipulated, cannot be changed. Well, if I'm just going to take a very simple example of Central Board of Secondary Education, CBSE. If CBSE is to link itself up to a blockchain-based application, where the 10th and 12th certificates are actually created on a blockchain application. And I as a student or you as a student just get the QR code of that particular certificate. And you can take this QR code anywhere you want for your entire lifetime. In one single shot, we have taken care of generation of fake 10th and 12th certificates. Not only that, I don't need paper certificate anymore. So I as a student need not bother about storing it anywhere because it is already stored in a central location. And I can always give it to anybody who wants. I just have to share the QR code. Any company, any institution where I have to share that certificate, I can just share it. So in one shot, you have made the access of that particular certificate easy. You have taken out the fake and degree, fake certificate business completely out. And of course, huge amount of opportunities that these open up. Energy, we discussed, we are working with Terry, forecasting, and government. Look at government and voting. Reduce voter fraud, inefficiencies with verified audit trails. Imagine a scenario, and it is already being worked in Scandinavian countries. I think Sweden is doing that at a smaller scale. The voting window opens up for 5 hours on your mobile. And you, if you are 18 plus and you have a voting ID, you can actually register your vote using your mobile anywhere, from any place. You don't have to go to a booth. How easy that is. And once you register your vote, guess what? It is on a blockchain application, immutable. It cannot be changed. It cannot be tampered with. And guess what? The entire history is available. Nobody can say that it was not voted. The entire, our EVMs are fraud. They can be hacked. All that can be taken out. And believe me, governments are seriously thinking of building a blockchain-based applications linked to your secured mobile device, IoT. Knock, knock. Your device, mobile, is nothing but an Internet of Things device. So governments are already working on that. Your entire land records, your entire registry of your flat and all that is going to be brought under the ambit of blockchain technology, so that it becomes completely tamper-proof. No fake registry, no fake duplicate documents of your land and all can be created anymore. So gun safety, automotive, human resource, insurance, again, like banking, finance, and fintech, insurance is another big sector. Wills and inheritance, I've already talked about, land records and all, IoT, improve multi-party contracts, streamline risk contract efficiency, yada, yada, yada. Legal, smart context. I'm already working with judiciary to secure some high courts. I'm already in discussion with, or our organization in discussion with. We are trying to figure out how to make the entire judicial records secured. And not only that, certain kind of decisions judiciary should be able to make automatically based on system, and you don't require judge. For example, a traffic violation is a traffic violation. Do I really need to go to a judge to pay a fine? Why can't a decision can be made by a system or by a blockchain-based judge, I would call, if I can call it, because it's just this rudimentary traffic violation. And all that can be automated. So that's another example. Media, marketing, healthcare. I think we have discussed medical and healthcare at length. Automatic decision-making, Fitbit example, music, public transportation, real estate, we have discussed that, registry, land records, so on and so forth. And last but not the least, travel. Again, related to insurance and all. Do you see any domain that has been left untouched? And this is what I mean. This decade belongs to these technologies, and there is no domain and therefore no aspect of your day-to-day life that will not be touched with these technologies. And I go back to my example, internet. 20 years back, none of us knew that internet is going to make that kind of inroads in our day-to-day life. But today it is. We cannot imagine our life without internet. Same way, we will not be able to imagine our life without some aspect of these technologies touching us. And guess what? They will actually be based on the same internet protocol that we use today. Will be more secured, will be more robust. You will have more bandwidth available to you, yet the protocol is going to be the same. Well, I think I have just completed my IoT and blockchain introduction to you. And I think I've succeeded in terms of building up that interest in your mind as to what all might be possible. Now, let me just spend a couple of minutes and then I'll open it. We still have good time for a QA. Why an emphasis on entrepreneurship and why an emphasis on innovation? Now, I myself was a complete 9-to-5, a professional, being done my MCA as a first batch out of GNU way back in late 80s. I kind of was lucky enough to have a very good job day in, day out, right up till 2017. And at 2017, when I left my job, I was actually a country head, making some very big decisions on investment and all. But then I left it for whatever reasons. And that is when I realized, or I thought that, do I look for another job? How different it is going to be from last 20 odd years, 27 years that I've spent, or do I do something new? And if it has to be new, can I challenge myself? Can I do something new, which is really new? And that's when blockchain happened. Imagine 2017, that was the time when people started hearing about blockchain. And I decided that I will move into blockchain and will make it my bread and butter, my life. And today, again, given my age and my experience, I cannot code a smart contract because I've moved away from Java, .NET and all. So for me to write a code in JavaScript is now a problem. I cannot get to that. But can I architect a solution? Can I design a solution? Oh, well, I can. So I may not be a blockchain expert in terms of putting a smart contract together using JavaScript, but I know for sure what kind of smart contract, where to use it, how to build it, what algorithms to use, and how the entire architecture of, let's say, a pharma supply chain can be done. I can do that. So I'm an expert to that extent. And how am I doing it? I decided I'm going to work on my own. And my organization today, after about, we kind of, this became registered in February this year. And unfortunately, immediately after that, the pandemic happened. So things have been slow, but I'm already giving a job to about 3 people. And our target by this year end, which is now by 2021 end, is we will have 30 plus employees on our roll. So, forget about blockchain, forget about emerging technology. That is another high that at this age, I have kind of got into a technology which not many people are aware of. And given my experience of domain, especially financial domain, banking domain, broadcasting, supply chain and all, those are the domains I have worked in. And I'm a technologist. And now this emerging technology, I'm sitting in a very comfortable place, but I decided to become an entrepreneur on top of it. I can go and get a job today anywhere, but now I want to do things on my own. I want to be my decision maker. I want to reap the benefits, and therefore I have taken that risk. So my entire, focus of today's delivery is that using the emerging technologies that are throwing up so many new opportunities in front of you. Age is on your side. I, at this age with a huge family dependent on me, can yet take a risk. For you, it is much easier to take those risks and make them pay. So the high that you get by learning a new technology and becoming an entrepreneur, running your own business, is something that you only have to feel. I can't explain it to you. You will have to be there in that space to understand what I'm talking about. Definition is in front of you. Who is an entrepreneur? A person who starts, organizes, and manages any enterprise, especially a business, with an innovative idea, usually with considerable initiative and risk. Higher the risk, higher the reward. But the chances of failure are also there. But to me, a failure is nothing but a stepping stone. It's just a stepping stone. It's a learning. You know what not to do. What is an entrepreneurship? I think it's front of there. I know Mr. Mishra has already spoken about it, so I'm not going to take much time out here. And characteristics of a successful entrepreneur, I'm going to be sharing this with you. I think this is no rocket science. You are a risk taker, you have a passion. You can sense that passion in my voice when I'm trying to explain it to you. I'm so involved. All the time, I have grown up daughters. I'm talking to them, yet certain aspect of my mind is already thinking of a problem and how I can find a solution in emerging technologies and therefore a business opportunity. So I'm doing that all the time, right? I've written failures are the stepping stone, motivation to succeed, determination and persistence. 3 years I've been at it. I'm determined that I'm going to crack this new technology and I'm after it. I'm always finding new people, people who are more knowledgeable than me, who can explain things to me. In fact, one of my partners, we have 3 partners in our company. One of my partners is just about 36 and he's a geek, a technology guy. Well, he's an amazing guy. And I have so much to learn from him. And what he learns from me is people management. I have that humongous experience of managing teams of 800 people at some point in my career. So I know how to deal with large teams. I know how to deal with 50 billion pounds of budget. So, there is a give and take. And typical aspect of job versus business. If you see the line, that is a business line, that is a job line. And that is your life, entire life. When you start a job or your career, either a business or a job, you are at point A, right? Point B, very high when you are in a job. So in the middle aspect, when you are 30s, 40, you are actually at the peak of your job because you are young, you are smart, you have learned a lot, you have experience behind you, and therefore you have a huge value. But as you age like me, there comes a time when whatever you know, the job chart goes down, the graph goes down, because people start thinking that you have only few years left in you. Are you really good for a job or not? Whereas in business, you will start at a A, you will go a little bit down because you're building, you're doing something new, but then there is no ending. The graph will continue to go up, and businesses, if you are making right decisions, it will continue to go up. It has absolutely no age bar. Today, when I'm successful, as I said, in next year, I'm going to be giving 30 people jobs and I'll be earning. Can people put themselves on mute? Excuse.
Please mute your mic. Thank you.
So thank you, Professor Prahar. So can you hear me now? I'm unmuted, right?
Yeah, we can.
Yes, I have
Yes,
muted
sir.
everyone now.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So with business, as I said, like I am 57 right now. 3 years back, I took the plunge. I have seen that graph going down, and now I have nothing but to look forward, look up. So, and will I be done in next 1 or 2 years? Of course not. I have good 10, 15 years in me to give to the industry, to give to the society, so on and so forth. And honestly, at this age, when my daughters are already into a job, I really don't need much to survive, right? To run my home. So you see, that's the difference between a typical business and a job. Decision is, of course, yours. But the opportunity that is facing you, like when we were growing up, our parents used to say, either a doctor or an engineer. Today, the opportunities are 100 times more, if not more. And these new technologies are going to just add to those opportunities, right? Well, a twist in the chain. What do I mean by this? I'm sure you have been hearing about IOT and blockchain in last couple of months, years, so on and so forth. Many of you might have thought, is it just a hype? Or is there a hope? Or is there something very substantial to it? My hope from today's webinar is that I have kindled that interest in you. I have, put that, Hindi में उसको कहते हैं चिंगारी, I have kindled that spark in you, that hope that these technologies are actually very promising, have huge amount of opportunity, and you will go out there, you will actually try to start figuring out what can be done. And as I said, I'm always there. Now that I'm connected through this webinar, I've shared my mail ID. You can write to me. That's it. Subsequent to today's awareness session, we can. Now, as I said at the start, I'm already working with certain universities to develop, various flavors of blockchain course and IoT courses, which is like 30R, 15R, 60R, so on and so forth. Now, the best part is blockchain is not an easy thing to pick up, and blockchain cannot be tested or perfected as you might have done with, let's say, a database, or you must have done with a JavaScript or a .NET, right? You can put it on your laptop or your PC and you can practice it. Can you practice blockchain, developing a blockchain application on your laptop? No, you have to be connected to a blockchain network. Can you create a blockchain network on your laptop or PC? No, you can't do that. I can tell you with authority that you cannot do that. You need a blockchain lab. And that is where our company Sophocles is really unique. And that is why many universities have started taking interest. We have already created or constructed or put together a blockchain lab on cloud. Very important, I'll repeat, a blockchain lab on cloud. That means to any student who is undertaking a blockchain course with us or an IoT course with us, this lab is available to them on their laptop through their remote internet connection. And what does it do? It opens you the repository of code. You can interact with a blockchain professional on our company side, and you get the environment where you can create a blockchain network of your own, and you can start developing a blockchain application using smart contracts and all. So we give you that facility. I can tell you that such a lab for training is not existing today with any blockchain trainer. And we are not a training company. We are a blockchain development company. Therefore, we bring second advantage. We know what is required outside on blockchain, IoT, AI, and ML. What is industry looking for? I can just tell you that with one university, we have completed one full semester of course already. They are just second year students, and they are ready to develop a blockchain application. So they are ready for a job as a blockchain developer, and they have just passed their second year of engineering. So they have 2 more years to go. So they're going to do a lot of projects with us. We are going to give them internship and all, not to all, but only to the deserving guys. And definitely after 4 years of their engineering, they will actually be blockchain experts. So for them, the job or the entrepreneurship is not a problem. And if they want to become an entrepreneurship, what do you need? An incubation facility where you can develop your idea. We provide an incubation facility as well because we have a lab. So that's where we are as a company. That's it. Do it yourself, blockchain technology, IoT for the future or for the win. That's what it is. I'm done. I am going to be opening this to everybody. I'm going to now start. I'll stop the share at this point and I'll put my camera on. I'll start my video. That's what I am.
So good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Go ahead.
Sir, we have some questions from the participants. So the first question is from a student. So he's asking that when we are talking about vulnerabilities with the use of IoT and the amount of data and security risk involved, do we think cybersecurity will play a very important role in coming years?
Absolutely. In fact, the entire blockchain is going to be relying upon the cybersecurity. It is going to look at how the data is encrypted at the source and decrypted at the usage point. So that's why I never ever talk about IoT in its isolation. IoT and blockchain are going to work together, where blockchain will bring in the cyber security or the encryption slash decryption aspects. And these are the algorithms that are already in use. I'm sure as engineering students, you must be hearing about SHA, secure hash algorithm, SHA. SHA 256, SHA 512 SHA, it is called. So those are the cybersecurity encryption technologies, algorithms that are being used in blockchain applications. Go ahead.
Sir, there is a next question from one of our professors, Mr. Anil Kumarji. So the question is, do we have IoT application for education sector?
I'm not aware of that. IoT specifically for education sector, because typically in education, I'm now trying to figure out, okay, let me just go a little bit back. When we were discussing IoT, we were discussing of data capturing at source. Now, what kind of data in the education sector needs to be captured at source will drive whether we need an IoT application for education sector or not. Now, to my experience and mine, I do not see a use of a device-based data capturing for education per se. But as I said in my example, blockchain has a huge use in education sector, where it can take out the fake degree, the fake transcripts, so on and so forth. Not only that, it can actually make it easy for the people to carry out their certificates and all. And mind it, today, there is always an access to the basic education certificates like 10th, 12th, your degree, your MBA degree, so on and so forth. There is the access today to all the credentials that you generate additionally in school or in college. Like I just do a blockchain 6 months course. That's a certificate. That's a credential. Does it have a value? Am I able to store it somewhere, or do I have to carry that paper all the time? So that sector in education, which is your upskilling sector, your reskilling sector, that is completely neglected from a credential storage point of view. And that's where blockchain is very effective. Anilji, I am sorry you have given me a food for thought. I'm going to really go back and do my research to figure out if IoT has a use in education sector. That's my promise to you.
Just I would like to add one thing. Like nowadays, that flipped classroom, which is going on a lot in market right now in Western countries, that is completely based on IoT. So, and even the online classes, IoT is being used to connect the mobile network to the servers and all. That is also it's being used regularly in the Western universities, but not that much in India right now. So this will be the update on that.
Okay. Anil, you have my mail ID. Let's connect through that. Right now, when I took this webinar, and at what stage of development I myself am, to my mind, IoT is something where not only you're capturing data, but that data is being captured with a view to make certain decisions and take certain actions, right? So therefore, a device-based capturing, authentication, security becomes important. And then subsequently, what you do with the data becomes an important. Now, the example that you have given to me, I'm not able to figure out, and maybe it is too early. Therefore, I'm requesting you to connect with me. I'm not able to figure out what kind of data I'm capturing and then what decisions I'm going to make. If I'm just making things easy for me in terms of delivering a lecture or delivering whatever I want to do, then I have many other ways of doing that. And if I'm going to consider that as an IoT piece, I'm not sure. So I'm sharing my uh, inability to understand whether that is an IoT example or not. But definitely I'll connect with you.
Sir, this is Professor Anil. I posted that question. So, see, most of the time while we are delivering the lecture through online mode,
Yeah,
hello,
yeah. Yes, I can hear
most of
you.
most of the time when we deliver a lecture through online mode, whether the student is concentrating or not, whether his or her attention is there with our
Oh,
class. So that is the major requirement as for a lecturer. If it is an offline class, that is good. So do you have any IoT solutions for that, so that our lectures we can get very good feedback from each and every class. So that is the important part in the online teaching. So that is what need of an hour, what I thought. So that's why I'm asking this.
no, no, absolutely fine. Now that is food for thought for me. And I fully agree with you. Whether my camera in front of my laptop is smart enough or my mobile camera is smart enough to answer, capture my concentration levels or not. I agree with you and I made a note of it. Uh, I'm not aware of any such thing right now, any such smart cameras or smart sensing technology, but it's definitely good food for thought. I've just made a note of it.
For example, if I conduct a Zoom class, so in this session there are 160 plus participants are there. Okay, so how
Yes.
much effective it is? How much the participants are give their attention to your lecture? So at the end of the session, if I got to know that, so it will be in very good input for any online class.
Sure.
So that is what I thought of requesting.
Perfect. I agree. I agree wholeheartedly with you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. With this, almost we have come to the last phase of this webinar, sir. So I wholeheartedly thank you for giving ample insight on blockchain and IoT, and also some entrepreneurial opportunities and tips on them, sir. So the tips which you have given for our students will be definitely helpful. And you have laid a very good foundation and a framework to our students, which will definitely be a roadmap to their to our budding entrepreneurs and research scholars. So once again from CIT family and all the participants, I thank you. I wholeheartedly thank you for this session, sir.
It has
And
been a great pleasure for me to be part of this family, to be able to communicate my mind, whatever my learnings are to you. So the pleasure is equally shared, and I'm happy to, answer any further questions on email through Mr. Mishra or through any of the participants. Please do share your feedback as well as to how well this particular session was received. I see a hand going off, Professor Prahar. Please, over to you, ma'am.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. I just want to thank you at the end and just want to highlight that at least I, who is not a technologist, but learning just a what if I say it is a working knowledge of the technology, will learn from what you shared today and the new this disruptive technology. It will take some time to seep in. But the best point which I liked from your presentation was the word which you used, that it's a passion for doing things. And that's what you are doing, leaving the job, and then this is what passion. And this has to be learned our young students. That's very, very important point. Besides the technology aspect which you were telling about. So I, on my personal behalf and behalf of my SEMCA colleagues, thank you for this wonderful presentation. Yes, we need the industry moves forward very fast. The other sectors like health will move very fast by using blockchain IoT. But I don't know, somehow education sector remains always behind in the application of these new disruptive technologies. So let's see how we work together in future. And definitely because this will be very useful for our open university system or open education system. Once again, thank you, Mr. G.
My pleasure. I am very close to you. Definitely, I'm sure Mr. Mishra will make it possible for us to meet up sometime in Delhi.
Sure.
So let's look forward to meeting you and taking things forward.
Sure.
We'll love to do that.
Okay.
Okay,
Perfect.
participants.
Thank you.
Saurabh,
Okay,
you want to wind up?
Ma'am, one last request, ma'am. Participants kindly fill the feedback form that has been posted in the chat box for receiving e-certificates. I thank Saurabh Mishra sir for helping us to organize this wonderful webinar. So wholeheartedly from CIT family, I thank you, sir. So I request you to put up some few words to share your words.
Definitely. So just I'm again thankful to CIT because this is my second opportunity to talking to students. So to students, I will like to tell that this was just a awareness program because 2 hours is nowhere sufficient to learn IoT or a blockchain. So we are planning again, Simca will be planning there is a workshop of around 10 to 15 hours, like how Jivan sir had explained to you. So that will be again completely sponsored by us. So I will suggest and request all the students to attend that also, because that will be more beneficial for you. Because as a student, as an engineering student, when I was also undergoing the engineering course computer science, I used to think that whatever being taught as a course during the engineering, that will be sufficient for me to go into the industry also. When in 8th sem I did like core Java, then I thought that J2EE I will do I did from NIIT, got a certification. I thought that would be sufficient. But when I went to industry, they trained me in my first company. They trained me on .NET, and when I got into the project, it was on C++. When I switched the company, then again it was like Perl, and it was on Ruby. So every time you have to keep yourself updated. So this is very much important, because as a student you will think that what is being taught as part of your course, that's gonna be sufficient, but that is not the case. So these additional technologies and the skills which is coming very fast in the market right now, like machine learning, IoT, AI, then blockchain, these things you have to get updated if you want to go in the industry. And as we know in the corporate right now, we all are reskilling our employees, like whoever the coder and developers are there, we are reskilling them, and we are hiring the outsiders, like companies like what Jivan sir is running, and many other companies like that, to train the employees on those new technologies and skills also. So this will be a very good opportunity for you all to learn it in your college online, and that also free of cost, what will be helping you to get that. So that's it, the suggestion from my side, and you all can register, and again we'll see you in next week. I believe in December and all, we can start the workshop. Thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all of you.
Thank you. Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I'll take the leave.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.